All right, let's go over this safety checklist involving the tactical twos. So the tactical twos simply means that you need to have two means to do things that are important or two ways to get something accomplished that is important. This comes from the old special operations community phrase that one is none and two is one, meaning that if you have something important to do, like establish comms with hire, you better have two means to do it. All right, let's move on. Talk about your alert plan. So you need to have a primary and secondary form of communication. Now, the primary form of communication for most people is going to be a cell phone and calling using the phone itself. Secondary can be either social media messaging, or it could be a location to find a landline to also get help or establish communication. Keep in mind that old cell phones by law can still call 911 even without a plan. And you'll notice if you grab somebody else's phone, there typically is some easy mechanisms to get to a 911 call with that phone, even if you don't know the lockout code for that phone. Also, your overt comms, yelling orange alert, orange alert, orange alert, or red alert 3 times to notify the people around you that they need to act immediately. So orange alert is basically letting people know that there is a potential threat and they need to take precautionary measures. For example, a stranger comes to your door at night. You might tell everybody in the home, hey, orange alert for a moment. So stop the video games, pay attention to what's going on. Red alert means you need to execute your run, hide, fight, and alert plan right now based upon the situation at hand. Also, yelling safe room, safe room, safe room means everybody goes to the safe room. And if you have more than one safe room designated, make sure you identify which one to go to. Now, covert comms are really important, and a lot of people don't know this. So covert comms is basically a way to alert someone that you are in trouble or that they should elevate their awareness without letting people around them know. For example, if you're being held hostage and you're being taken into your home, you might say something to your family members in a covert way that lets them know that there is trouble. For example, you could ask them if the dog is put away and maybe use the name of a dog that doesn't exist anymore. So when your family members hear that dead dog's name, they know that something is out of the ordinary. You could also have a code word where you use somebody's middle name, for example. So with my wife, I basically use her middle name and she knows to go to orange alert and pay attention to what's going on. Also, it's important with AI out there trying to create situations of fraud and scams that you've got to have that code word for your kids. So if your kid calls you and you really believe it's their voice, it may not be, it may be AI. So have a covert, basically a password that they could give to you as well. Uh, Also, primary and secondary threat locations, that's basically you go somewhere, you take a quick look around and ask yourself, where's trouble going to appear? So if you go to a restaurant, the main places it's going to appear is towards the entrance and then towards the cash register area. Maybe the bar, maybe the bathroom, depending on the type of bar that you go to. So make sure you know your primary potential threat location and secondary potential threat location. So your plan evolves around avoiding those if possible and paying particular attention to them. Next on the list is your run and evade plan. Primary and secondary evacuation route. And with that secondary evacuation route, you have to have a secondary means to get out. So your primary evac route is typically the route that you came in, the common exit out of a facility or out of an area. However, in times of crisis, everybody's going to run to that same exit route, and it could create a stampede effect and make it very difficult. Plus, bad guys could go in that initial route that everybody else uses as well. So you want to look for a secondary route out and look for means to exfil that involve the unexpected. For example, climbing over a railing and down off of a patio, breaking out a window, raking it out, covering it with something and escaping out a window. So look for those very unusual ways to get out and have the means available to do that. You want a near rally point, which is a place you can get to quickly and get your accountability. And you want a far rally point, which is out of sight and sound of the venue, because if the venue is under attack and you're within sight and sound of that venue, you could still be subject to attack. Also pay attention to alternative rally points or nearby safe havens, places that you could go to get help. So safe havens or places where there's some type of security element, a large number of people, maybe things are being recorded on video. So hospitals that have an emergency room, fire stations, some schools and educational facilities, or some other location that has a pretty robust security presence that might be helpful to you. Nearby cover and concealment. So if you are under attack, where can you go and hide? What can you get behind to stop yourself from being engaged, at least initially? And then make sure you get some accountability and you get through that roll call. So where is everybody? And make sure you know when everybody is safe and have a means to do that. Next is hiding and barricading. So there's a lot to this. So the tactical twos, primary area to barricade, primary and secondary means to barricade that room, and then a secondary barricade area, the primary and secondary means to do that. So depending on the layout of the facility you're in, you might have your barricade areas catty corner to each other if you can. Otherwise, just a known location that's relatively easy for you to get to and to barricade. When you barricade it, do not rely on door locks alone. Always have that secondary means. So either a door wedge, furniture. If you have to use your body, use your body. Obviously, that's last on the choices. But have two means to secure that door. Don't depend on just one. Also, when it comes to room defense, make sure that you barricade the door. You remove light and sound, so turn the lights off, silence your cell phones. Get out of view. Get in the corner generally. Get behind some type of cover, and then prepare to fight. Look for those improvised weapons and prepare your backup plan for the breach in case the attacker breaches the room. A lot of lives can simply be saved if people learn to cover the windows in your door and get out of the way so they're not in view of the attacker. And then once you're in that room, don't release that barricade until you can positively identify it is the police outside. And there are several means to do that, which we discuss in our training. But a big one is just basically make a deliberate decision based on the common sense things that are apparent to you. Multiple police officers, police radios, it's been a significant amount of time, and other things like that could be important. Next, when it comes to fight, get plumb Mad Dog Me. If you don't know what that involves, find the Clint Eastwood movie, The Outlaw Josie Wales, and he's stuck in a cabin with three women with little to no combat experience or capability. They're surrounded by bad guys, and there's going to be a fight. And he's like, look, I don't have time to train you. All I can tell you is get plumb Mad Dog Mean and fight back with everything you have. Work as a team, so courage is contagious. Once you attack an attacker and you go for a weapon, it's about a 50-50 if you're equally matched. But if you can just get one person of minimal capability involved, your chances are going to go way up. So encourage those other people to help you. Yell at them to help you if that's what it takes. Nap them out of their freeze response. Remember the +1 rule. The attacker will attack again if given a chance. So you have to completely disable them or control them. The attacker will have another weapon other than the one that you've just seen and disarmed them of. So you've got to search them completely, make sure they don't have access to other weapons, and plan on the attacker having another friend. Now, in a small number of attacks, there are multiple attackers. But in terrorist type attacks, there's a greater chance of that. So when in doubt, act as if there's a second attacker, barricade the room, prepare to fight again, and then do everything else. Have that will to fight with 100% commitment and not give up even if you're injured. You should have a primary improvised weapon and a secondary improvised weapon. So that is anything that is hard, heavy, sharp, or blinding, something that's sturdy that won't break with one blow, and something that's handy that you can weld in a tight confines type setting and use it very handily. Also, keep in mind that any weapons you have in your hand, if you run into the police, you could be misidentified. So one of the last things you should do would be to pick up an attacker's weapon and stand around in the open with it. And there have been some very tragic cases where that has occurred. So get behind some cover, try to reduce the signature of that weapon if you think you're going to be encountered by the police. Next is rendering aid. No, 2 locations of trauma kits, not first aid kits, something that can be used to stop serious bleeding. Tourniquets and wound packing is what we're talking about. Know how to stop bleeding. Of course, direct pressure is nice. Wound packing is good. And then tourniquets for areas such as the limbs where you can use a tourniquet. Know how to do all those, including how to make a hasty tourniquet if you don't have a ready-made tourniquet around. And how to handle airway. So if nothing else, know about the recovery position. Basically, get people off their face and off their back. Get them in a position where they can comfortably breathe on their own. And if they're unconscious, leave them on their side instead of on their face and back. Lastly, you've got to know key people, key locations, times, phone numbers, and where key equipment is located. So if you're going out with a group, make sure everybody exchanges phone numbers. So an easy way to do that is just to do a group text and make sure everybody's online with that. And in that group text, you might want to include addresses that are important to everybody and any other information that's vital. So if you're going out on an outing, group text for everybody so everybody knows how to get in contact with each other. That's a lot of material for one sheet of paper, but you can take those tactical twos anywhere with you, to work, to school. You're going to a country western concert. You're going to an amusement park. I mean, you're going to any type of event. At least hit some parts of those tactical twos and make sure your family is prepared and make sure you can put it in.